Welcome back.
Yay.
Episode 11.
2024.
2024. It's the new year.
Yes, it is.
Yo, welcome back to Covenant Culture Podcast with Megan and Lamorse Crawford.
Yes.
Yo, seriously, I pray that the ending of your 23 was well.
Yeah.
We are in expectation for great things in 24. As usual, trusting God with everything. So we pray that you are as well. But we're in episode 11, and we're going to tackle a few questions to kick off the episode.
Yeah.
And so I know our last episode 10, we talked about doing a Q&A, so we got a few questions. So we asked our producer, Kevin, to kick off with the first question. So this real time, y'all.
Yeah.
Real time question right here.
I don't even know if he knew it was happening right now.
Right now, Kev, the producer, officially the nickname for 24, Kev, the producer. What's your question?
Now I totally blanked on it. I would say, what are some practical ways you can guard your heart during dating?
Ooh, that's good, Kevin.
Let's repeat that.
Yeah, he might be listening to the
You wanna repeat
podcast.
that?
If this is your question.
Yes.
What are some practical ways that you can guard your heart while dating?
Ooh.
I love that.
You want to go first?
It's good. You go first.
I'll
I'm
go
marinating.
first. So as soon as he said that, this is the first thing that came to my mind.
It's not mine, right?
Mm-mm.
Should I go first? I changed.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Disciplined emotions.
Okay, good. That's not what I was gonna say. But that's
Disciplined emotions. What do I mean when I say that? All of us have a natural makeup of tendencies when it comes to relationship. You hear terms like you fall hard, you fall fast,
Yeah.
right? Like you're the love story person in a relationship. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the essential ways of guarding your heart is to discipline your emotions. If you know you're a
and
person,
your feelings lie to you.
yes.
Sometimes I have to say things closer in the mic so everyone can hear.
Right.
For the people in the back.
Right. So when I say that, if you know your relational tendency,
Mm-hmm.
you have to discipline that tendency until you really get to know the character of the other person.
Yeah.
Right. So if you've been a woman in the past who fall for game fast, like the dude's words always get you, you might have to park knowing that's a tendency for you. If you're a guy and like you fall for the girl fast, you might have to say, I normally by
shorty.
day 5, I'm this. Let me discipline my emotions to day 10.
That's good.
That makes sense?
Well, we're not done yet.
No. I'm just
Because-
giving my side.
I was going to say, because for the ladies,
Yeah.
right? There's a scripture that says, do not awaken love before it's time.
That's good.
And I think it's not just for the ladies, right? That's
Yeah,
for everyone.
That's right.
Don't awaken love before it's time, because if you do, then you find yourself in situations that you're not ready for.
That's
right?
true.
And that aren't supposed to be the timing that God has set
Absolutely. And there's a scripture in Proverbs that gives the connotation of only a fool vents his whole heart.
out. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So your most prized possession is your heart. So whatever your relational tendency is, if it's been a weakness in the past,
Yeah.
that's what you work on for the future you want in a relationship.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one. So that's the emotional part. The spiritual part is
I'm like, look at Kevin. It's his question. I told you the eye contact always. Here we are. We're
right.
on a date.
the spiritual part is if the other person is a believer,
Yeah.
those should lead in your conversations. That's a great practical way to guard your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you keep God, if you keep kingdom, if you keep Jesus at the center,
It's good.
that'll help guard your heart in relationships. But if you wilding out, talking about this club, drink, bar, like it doesn't do anything for you. Like getting drunk and going out with somebody, it ain't gonna land well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think keeping kingdom conversations as a huge part of that relationship building can help guard your heart
Yeah.
in
It's
those
good.
areas. So
That's great.
great question, Kev.
Can I ask a follow-up?
And we got to follow. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, so how do you, just like in conversation, how can you, not talk about something that's deep too early, but also not be like,
Right.
what's your favorite color?
Yeah, that's good.
So to have meaningful, basically
Yeah.
the question is,
Mhm.
how can you have meaningful conversation without going too deep and
Yeah.
without having to say, start off with what's your favorite color,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
the shallow
Yeah.
conversation. What would you say?
I would say
He asked
as a
all
guy,
the meaningful questions, so we'll see.
as
what
a
he's-
guy, this is what I would say. It's 2024 now,
Yeah.
so dating is totally different than
Yeah,
20 years ago.
yeah,
I would say have preloaded questions, right? One of the good, I mean, this is just a small tactical way is finding out their tendencies. Do they like sports, right? I wouldn't lean political on a first date. That's a no-no big time, right? You feel me? But if they like sports, it might be a movie, an actor, whatever it might be. I would say lean more on that side.
yeah,
And then, after they reveal their IQ, so to speak, meet them where
Wow.
they at to talk about different, because everybody's
yeah.
different,
Well,
right?
Yeah, and out of the overflow of your heart, your mouth speaks.
Yeah.
So the more you get them talking, the more questions you ask. That's the wisdom. You ask the questions,
Yeah.
right? It's great to be asked questions, but don't leave a situation thinking that was sad. They didn't really seem interested in
Yeah.
me. You want to hear as much as you can about them,
Yeah, that's
especially
good.
as a man.
That's true. And the truth, people love talking about themselves.
Yeah.
So it really isn't hard today to ask questions to get people to talk.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I wouldn't go really deep on a first date. I think there needs to be a common ground
What
of where
date
you are.
would you say?
It depends.
What's deep and what's not deep?
Yeah.
What's deep and what's not deep.
Well, I think
I probably wouldn't talk about the book of Revelation on the first date.
But I think that it's good. Yeah. Like if you already know they go to church, that's already like the
Mm-hmm.
common ground. Then just, daily disciplines. Like what does your day look like?
That's good.
Right.
That's
Just a
good.
question like that to maybe
Yeah.
provoke that. If that's not the first thing they say,
Yeah.
that would just, again, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that's it. It's just
Yeah.
they're
I was trying to think, what were we talking about in the red room in college that night? I feel like I asked
Oh
you
no,
a
it was
few
very.
questions.
I was actually going to say that. That's why I said. If you noticed, I leaned in and said, "Yeah, Lawrence,
I do
tell us."
remember. Did I ask you if you could describe yourself in 5 words or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
He did, and that was a great question.
That's a good question. Take that down.
But let's just also say this might veto everything else you just said. I left that night with a banner on my flip phone.
That's
said
true. I did put a
Proverbs
but
31.
This is
I was like, "Oh, you want to marry me?"
well, shorty, you was mature for your age, so I could take. See, that's the thing too. You gotta gauge their spiritual maturity, their
Yeah.
emotional maturity, right? That ability to gauge can determine how deep you go, how fast,
yeah,
right? So questions about their upbringing, how were they parented,
yeah,
the environment of their home,
yeah,
right? Because some conversations can be triggers. So as you get to know them and as they reveal their heart, you can know based on
Yeah.
their maturity where you can go up or down, deep, shallow. Maybe we can go political 5th date. You know what I mean? Maybe go to Book of Revelation 12th date. You know what I'm saying? So I think as you get to know them, you can gauge how deep to go in a
that's
conversation.
good. Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
all right, let's do another question. You got
Okay.
another one?
Yeah, you actually have all the
I
questions.
do have all the questions.
But one of the big ones, what we have over and over and over, is parenting.
We did get a lot of parenting questions.
So for that topic, I guess we can just dive right in. I'll ask you, how
Okay.
about that?
Yeah.
What as a father is the most important, what's the message you want your kids to
Yeah.
grow up with?
Yeah, well, 2 things
Are
first.
you answering
and
my
I'm gonna,
question?
I am, but I'm gonna quote you first.
Okay.
I remember Megan saying, I remember when we first got married and had kids, we were like, man, we're gonna do parenting conferences and
Oh yeah.
we're gonna write
Marriage
books.
conferences,
And then we started having
yeah.
kids. She was like, no, we need to go to the marriage conferences. We need to go to the
buy
parenting
the books.
conferences,
That's
right? We
right.
need to get the books. So
Yeah.
I never forget you said that, and that always stuck with me. So I say that to say that parenting is a hands-on experience.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for books. I'm so thankful for podcasts.
Yeah.
I listen to a family podcast.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for YouTube videos on parenting. And that's all great knowledge. Knowledge is great, but for parenting, we need wisdom.
Yeah.
And wisdom is knowledge applied.
Yeah.
So that knowledge is great. So part of the hands-on experience in parenting, the wisdom come from the situations we have to parent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One of the greatest revelations for me as a dad, to your question, is that I realized that all 4 of my children are different. Same household, same principles, same parenting, same environment. We do the same. And all 4 of these little mugs are different.
Yeah.
So I've learned that I have to meet each of my kids where they are.
Yeah.
And I haven't been great at it. And I know I need to get better at it, but that's my goal.
Yeah.
Right? At least if you have a goal in parenting, it's something to shoot for.
Yeah.
So I'm going for that goal. And yeah, I might fall short. I might not do it the right way all the time.
Yeah.
But as a dad, I want to meet my kids where they are. And my number one motive, please hear me. Kids never do what you tell them to do. They do what they see you do. So my heart, even in mistakes, I want my kids to see that I love you.
Yeah.
That I read my Bible, that I pray, that I worship, that I serve at the local church, that we feed the homeless, we love on couples. Like everything we do, I want our kids to see us do it authentically and real.
Well, and I was thinking that I remember you saying to me, you know, when I would get like stressed about, we don't have enough for Christmas, or we don't have enough for, I don't know, things in the past, right? That we have discussed, and they want to do this, but we can't do that. And you're like, well, they know we love them, right? Or to the same response, but I would say, I misunderstood this and I had to apologize for this. And this day felt this way. And I wonder what kind of memory was just created.
Yeah.
And you would say, well, at the end of the day, our kids know we love them. And that can sound simple, but to actually think like our children will never question if we loved them. Yeah, there have been moments out of character that they've experienced, and I'm sure I've had questions, but we've always responded. We've always apologized. We've always, made sure that their minds can at least understand to the degree of their understanding.
Absolutely. And I love that, because love will always win out.
Yeah.
Right. And really and we'll have the episode on trauma. When you really think about trauma, it was an absence of agape.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So even if we don't parent perfectly, if we can have a agape love atmosphere in our home, and our kids know we love them, I think that's a win.
Yeah.
And the last example I think of to kind of seal this question, I guess, is this is how I knew I was at least doing something right as a dad. I never forget it. We discipline our kids, right? The rod, spoon, we spank our kids unashamed in love. We don't beat our kids. But we do spank them, them little kids. And so I gave a spanking to one of my children. And, I remember hearing people say, this didn't happen in my household, but I remember people saying it. This hurt you more than it hurt me. Right? And I experienced that when I saw their face. But the point is, after I spanked one of my children, they still came up to me and hugged me and sat on my lap. That blessed me so much, because me growing up, that wasn't the case. It was always in anger, right? So it was never no hug or love. That let me know they know that I love them. Yeah.
And you saying that just triggered something that I remember that I'd put in my phone. That is, I just remember loving this idea. If you love them, if you talk to them in love, they're going to give love, right? If you respect them, they're going to respect you. And that was like a revelation, a little transformation in my heart of recognizing it doesn't matter how much I feel like I've messed up, right? At the end of the day, we all mess up our kids. Yeah. It's not on purpose. Yeah, but it's true. Imperfect people trying to raise perfect kids, which can't happen, right? So recognizing that if I love them, they will love me. Yeah. If I respect them, they will respect me. That's the desire, that if that is applied, it's just what is sown. It's what's reaped.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same principle.
And why is that so important for relationships even today in parenting? Because you're raising the child. Yeah. And how you raise them is going to affect how they relate.
For sure. Well, and I always think like, oh gosh, like what who are they going to marry? It's scary. You pray for
Right.
them, but you still don't know. There's
Yeah.
personalities.
Yeah.
So much. But what I do know is if we are displaying who we desire, it's the
Mhm.
same kind of principle
Yeah.
as a wife, as a husband that we would like them to have. If they see it,
Yeah. That's good.
right, there is a natural bend to kind of go towards what you know.
That's good.
And if we can keep them in a vein of love and respect and joy and obviously Jesus, then
Yeah.
that's what they're going to desire. And that's
Yeah.
the goal, always the goal.
Yeah.
I say that's what they're going to desire, but I just speak with faith in that too. 'Cause
Yeah.
that should be, right?
Yeah.
And train up your child
In the way,
in the way
they
they would go.
should go.
And he will not
Yep.
depart from it.
And that should go might not be comfortable for you
Right.
as a parent at times,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
there's sometimes you're gonna have to face hard things
Yeah.
in parenting.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to have tough conversations with
Yeah.
your 13 and 14-year-old that you
Mhm.
couldn't have at 7, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a grace that God gives you in every season of parenting, from right, from new age, born, toddler to right 6 to teenager. You know what I mean? And in each season, God gives a grace. Like there's a different grace
Speaking
for
of,
us.
we have 2 teenagers now.
We do.
That's
My
an
daughter
update
turned
since our
13.
last podcast.
It's crazy.
I don't know how we got there.
Boarding
Anyway.
school. That's the answer. Boarding school is the answer, folks. No, but so yeah, I believe we pray as a family. We read the Bible as a family. We worship as a family.
Yeah.
We're counting on God keeping His promise
Yeah.
that as we raise them in a way they should go, not in a way we want them to go, not in a way they want to go, but in a way they should go according to God's word. We're banking on that promise that God's going to keep them and
Yeah.
hold them. So that's our hope as parents.
Yeah. And then I just think one more thing that I think about, you know this, I say this all the time. I kind of touched on it just now, but like memories. I'm always thinking, it's crazy, isn't it? Like as a kid, I can tell you where I was, and there's this, I explained it to my mom. She's like, oh, there's no way you'll remember this room I was in visiting a relative. She's like, there's no way, you were too little. And I was like, well, wasn't it like this and this? And the kitchen was there. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I remember that. And then I said, and then you turned. I mean, I explained probably 5 different things.
Wow.
She said, yes. And then I said, and you turned, and there was a giant step. And she started laughing. She's like, well, the step wasn't giant. It was just normal size.
But to
So it
you,
made
that
me
thing was
think,
huge. Yeah.
Right. And it made me think, and that has really shaped me as a mom, all of these moments of what they're going to weigh. Like there's going to be
Yeah.
moments that don't seem that
Yeah.
substantial
That's
to
good.
us. That
That's
are
good. Very
that
significant
shift
to them.
right?
Mhm.
And so I try to always like, because obviously I'm not doing it perfectly, but whenever we get into a vein of correcting myself, because like I don't ever want love to be overshadowed. And
Yeah.
I know that it won't, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Just keeping those moments.
No,
so
that's good.
every moment is a memory for them. And what do you want your kids to remember?
Yeah. And you do a very good job at that. If there's
Thanks,
any
Steve.
struggle, it's me, right? Because I think of the practical side
don't
of
think
the
so.
memory.
I
You know what I'm
think- I
saying?
think of, like, the-
yo, this memory gonna cost a grip, so I got to get another
Oh, yeah,
job.
but you're talking about the fun memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I've
You
got
know what
that.
I mean?
But what I'm not as great is like daily things.
Yeah.
Like just we have to be careful in our tone and not getting frustrated. And I've said it 4 times very kindly.
Yeah.
Now it's the 5th time. I don't feel as patient.
Yeah.
So just even dialing back in those moments because I recognize that they're going to remember it.
Yeah. And I had this thought the other day driving home back from Indiana is that parenting today, you in competition with like social media and cell phones. And, like
Yeah, I'm not.
it's a
I reject
legit
that.
competition. I'm like, man, I'm finna stump somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so even in that
and competition
arena,
for them.
yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but to that point, I was thinking of how many adults are in competition by watching other parents parent.
yeah, that's
So
true.
on both ends, it's
That's true.
pretty crazy.
That maybe we might have to do a whole episode, but
on social
stop
media.
competing with other parents.
Yeah.
Your child is not their child. Their
Yeah.
makeup is different. Their
Yeah.
wiring is different. Their
Mhm.
calling is different. How God designed them is different.
Mhm.
So that's why it's a grace in parenting per child.
Yeah, it's good.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought about this competition idea. I can't let the world win.
Right.
I can't. So for us in our home, we do a no phones day, which
Yeah.
happened to land on today.
They love that day.
Right?
It's
Oh
their
yeah, we're the
favorite
fair
day.
parents on no phone day, and so. But for
know.
us in our home, that's important. Like
Yeah.
first of all, you ain't pay for nothing, B. So don't give me no attitude about not having a phone. You ain't got no job.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, Easton asked me today. Ready for this?
Here we go.
We had a very large cleaning day today. Okay. And he asked me if I considered, I think that's actually what he said was, have you considered giving us an allowance? Because we do a lot of work.
Oh, allowance.
And I said, I allow you to live here.
I allow you to eat my food. I allow you to sleep in the bed you didn't pay for. That's what I allow.
Said, no, probably not, son. You do a lot of really great things.
Yeah.
You're just fine. This is just a part of the life of living here. Anyway, not to knock that. If people do it, good for you.
Yeah, great for you.
We just don't.
Yeah. So to all the parents out there who's in the fight, keep fighting.
Yeah.
So it's worth it.
Yeah.
Right. You're raising the next generation of leaders and entrepreneurs and inventors and lawyers, doctors, producers of podcasts, video editors, the whole nine, right? You're raising them. So stay in the fight.
Right.
Right.
And I think honestly that umbrellas most of the thoughts coming out of parenting was surrounding raising them in this crazy world.
Yeah.
To be godly.
Yeah.
And I just want to say this is a last sentiment. I was just sharing this with our friends. But the Nothing is Wasted podcast.
Yeah.
We should
shout
definitely
out to Davey
shout that
Blackburn,
out. And Christy.
my guy, and Christy
and
Blackburn.
If you have not listened to their podcast, you totally
Nothing
should.
is wasted. Check it out. Great
Amazing.
people, great ministry.
Beautiful testimony.
Doing great things.
And we were sitting with them and I just shared, like, no matter what, this is what we have to keep in the forefront as parents. No matter what our kids go through, God has chosen them for this time.
That's right.
So
That's
even
good.
when our stories
That's
are
good.
hard, even when we've walked through battles that it seems so unfair for our kids to have to walk through, it is a part of their testimony.
Yeah.
So it's not just ours. God is shaping them and using them in each moment.
Yeah.
So
And
be encouraged.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this and maybe your parents aren't believers, so you're not raised in that type of environment, but you are, number one priority, pray for your parents.
Yeah.
Just pray for your parents.
Yeah.
Or maybe you listen to this podcast and you're married, seriously dating or engaged. You're not parents yet. Pray for your future children.
Yeah.
Prayer is the most powerful weapon. It can go places.
It's true.
Catch this. In time
It's
that
true.
you can't.
It's true.
You could pray over your past.
Yeah.
You could pray over your present, and you could pray over your future.
It's true.
So that's
good.
your remedy. Your prayers can go places in physical time, past,
cannot.
present, or future that you can't. So
Amen.
pray, pray, pray.
It's good. We're having church.
Do we got
actually.
another one? We got another one. I feel good.
You have them, yes.
All right, let's see. Let's move on from the parenting one.
Yeah.
How
I think
can
marriage,
a man?
We should go marriage. Oh,
let's
yeah,
go
yeah.
man. No, we can go man.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, here's the question, fellas.
This is a dicey one.
How-
I appreciate it.
How can a man be more emotionally available?
Well, you do remember the waffles and spaghetti, right?
I do remember that. How can I forget?
Because I think that might be important to discuss.
All right, so I'll let you go first.
Men, yes, and then it's all you because I'm not a man, so I don't know
Right,
how to
but
get
you could
there.
speak.
But
You could speak from the need of why would
it's
you
true.
want
There's a couple
your
things.
husband to be more emotionally available, and what
Correct.
does it mean to be emotionally available?
Oh, it's too many questions.
I know it's all wrapped in one. I was just
Okay,
trying to
so
get-
the one is we'll get to waffles and spaghetti.
Okay.
But to start, as a woman, the way I would desire to get you to be more emotionally available, the way I feel like you're wired. Number one is understanding how you're wired, right?
Yes.
Trying to figure that out. I mean, the Enneagram to do or not to do, that's totally up to you. There's a lot of things attached to that.
people
But
behaving.
for us, we just used it simply. It helped me understand you more, knowing if this is the way your mind thinks, right? Love languages. This
That's
is
good.
this is the way you want to be loved. This
Yep.
is the way you feel less loved. Those are important things, right? We did the whole fun country. Which country do you live on? Peace,
Yeah.
control, fun, right?
Yeah.
All of that matters. Those are behavioral, but also heart motivated. But I would say, practically speaking, as a woman talking to a man, however I address you is who I'm going to receive. So if I address you as a warrior, I'm going to get a warrior. Sometimes I get a warrior whether I like it or not, but
That's
the
true.
goal is
Sure.
the addressing.
So I'll be doing push-ups, man. So stop playing.
The addressing makes the way you address your spouse makes such a big difference.
Absolutely.
If I address the king in you, your response is way more apt to be a king. But if I'm trying to square up and have an argument, I'm probably going to get that.
Yeah.
Just because we're humans.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
We've learned to kind of navigate those conversations much better in the years that we've been married. But still, at the end of the day, if you're tired, if you're watching Sports Center, if you had a bad day, if you're not feeling great, that's probably not the time to come to you with a significant conversation, right?
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, so then back to the waffles and spaghetti, and then it's all you. Men think in boxes.
It's true.
So if I
TV's a
need
box.
you to be a little bit more emotionally available,
Basketball court's a
I
box.
have learned
Football
what-
field a box. Soccer field's a
The
box.
bed.
The bed is a box.
Did you already say the remote? 'Cause
The remote is it's a box.
It's a
It's
box.
a rectangle, but it works.
So to think about that, even like, how do I want to be addressed? I want to be addressed when I feel filled up. So if I know that you're running on empty, or financially you're scrapping for our family, or whatever it may be, if I can give you an hour watching sports and then say, hey, can we talk, or can we go on a date, or I prime you, right? We do this.
It's true.
Men do this for women as a microwave and an oven. You have needs.
That's true.
And I am not microwavable.
That's
I
right.
take
You
preheating.
gotta bake. You gotta
right?
preheat in that thing.
It's true.
Gotta let it warm up.
And the same is true for y'all. You just don't realize it as much. So
Yeah.
it's a priming.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's allowing you to navigate the conversation by just trying to,
Yeah.
pry
Absolutely.
a little. So
That's
go
good.
ahead. What do you think?
Yeah. So as you were talking, I kind of got this picture about a universal principle and a practical principle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like gravity. Gravity is a universal law.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I'm here, China, South America, Asia, Australia. Gravity is a national
Yeah. It's happening.
principle,
In our
right? So in other words, there are practical principles you apply per relationship. So there are just practical things that works. Like you're saying, you're probably not going to approach me to talk about something very important if I'm exhausted. The practical principle of that is I'm going to wait in the morning when Lamoris is more rested. The national principle of that is agape love. Because you love me,
Right.
you wouldn't want to press the issue, say,
Right.
I want to
Right,
talk
right.
now. You wouldn't
Yeah.
do that. That makes sense? So
Yeah,
I
'cause
want
love
to.
is patient. and
That's
kind.
right.
Yeah.
And I want to give that kind of small caveat because as you're listening or watching this podcast, your wiring may be different per your relationship. Why?
True.
We all bring something in every relationship. You bring your baggage, you bring your
Yeah.
trauma, you bring your experiences. So you have to find the practical principle for your relationship.
Yeah, that's good.
So how are they wired? What triggers come alive in conversations? But the universal principle for every relationship is agape love. I
Yeah.
want to talk to you about this issue because I love you. I want to be more emotionally available because I love you.
Yeah.
I'm called by God to love you like Christ loves the church.
Yeah.
And he died for it, which means what? I might feel this way, but I must die to that feeling to
Yeah.
love you.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So
Yeah.
as you're navigating this idea of as a man and becoming more emotionally available, another national principle, I got to get this in the book. I feel this.
Okay.
Is humility.
Yeah.
It's humility.
For sure.
So you gotta be humble.
Yeah.
If my wife needs me emotionally, and y'all listen, as y'all hear our hearts in these podcasts, we have lived this and we are living this.
Yeah.
So we're not telling you something that we're not personally
Yeah.
experiencing.
Yeah.
Do what you want with it.
Yeah.
Don't ever listen, unsubscribe, and don't make me none. Our heart is to serve you and love you and give you practical and national principles that we believe can enrich your marriage so that you can have
Yeah.
a marriage that's never been seen before. That's
But
our
we
number
do
one goal.
appreciate your subscriptions and your likes.
We
and
do.
being a
We
part.
appreciate you, love you, but it is what it is.
the
You
truth,
know what I mean?
the grace, right?
That's true. That's true.
So actually, speaking of there are multiple topics that I know we won't get to, but I was just thinking we've discussed love on when it comes to parenting. We've discussed love in dating. We've discussed love for a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought marriage, like the longevity of it. I know
Yeah.
we're going to have a whole episode on that, but
Yeah.
just to touch on what can couples do right now to keep the romance, to choose and want and desire to date one another. Because the truth is the world is loud
Yeah.
and there are a lot of opportunities around you. And as a believer, I don't see it that way,
Yeah.
right? I don't see that there are opportunities around me.
Mhm.
But just practically speaking to people that it might be difficult. Maybe they do have a spouse that's not present emotionally or physically or whatever the case. What would you speak into that?
Agape love.
Well, I know, me too.
I know,
but-
and I'm getting practical, but
Yeah.
I'm saying
No,
that
I
should
agree.
that should be our motivator.
yeah.
You like
yeah.
even today, we had and every time we record a podcast, something always happen. It's crazy,
Yeah.
but
But today was your fault.
I wouldn't go that far. But what I was
Just
gonna
tell the
say
people the
was
truth, Crawford.
what I was gonna say was I had the thought to bring you flowers before you said something in the kitchen today.
Yeah, I was hoping he
Right.
brought me flowers,
And
and I told him
and
when he
here
came home.
and I'm trying to get to your point.
Yeah.
You better is that
I'm like, is this your official apology? Thank
I already
you.
apologized 7 times because you said only 6. So it's 7 now on the podcast.
Yeah, okay.
And we got to wrap up while you playing. Is that
Thanks for being here with
is
us.
that the practical part of that is it is a real fight to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
So
it's
that
true.
that has to be conscious no matter how justified you feel and how you feel.
It's true.
The national principle, I got to coin
Yeah.
this thing, is that, or the biblical principle is that I must humble myself
Yeah.
despite who's at fault.
Right.
That doesn't,
Right. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's true.
And I knew to get flowers. I was running like crazy today, like crazy. But that, once again, I got to get out of my own way
No, I love that though.
to get shorty flowers. You feel me? So that's my answer to your question.
Yeah. It's good.
It's an agape love of me getting out of my way, despite if I think it was your fault or
Right.
caused by you, whatever.
because it's a choice.
It's a choice.
And we go back to that regarding everything spiritually because God is a gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to make us do anything. But when we want to be like him and more like him, we have to choose the way
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
he's told us already. He's given us the beautiful recipe of living a great, joyful life, right?
That's good.
So yeah, I forgive you and thank you for that.
And I forgive you too. And I love you. And we wrapping up the podcast. Hey, yo, we can't say thank y'all enough
Yeah.
for tuning in,
Yeah, it's a
hanging
new
out,
year.
kicking it New Year 24.
We have so many things. and
Oh,
we can't
y'all,
wait.
listen, we so pumped about future
Yeah,
episodes.
yeah.
We're excited about what God is downloading in us so that we can give to you.
Oh yeah, I'm going to say something.
All right, hustle up,
I know
man.
it's time
We
to
gotta
go, but
bounce.
it's just one more thing.
Okay.
We didn't discuss if I'm allowed. So you apologize. We're on great terms. So I'm going to say really quickly that we're going to have a marriage conference.
We are going to have a marriage conference,
And that keeps
according to my wife.
we've discussed it.
We did,
just
but I didn't think that was
discussing.
announceable. Now, like
I think
we
we just
announcing this by
should.
faith.
Well,
This by faith. If we
that's right.
speak it,
That's
and
what
it,
I'm saying.
now y'all all heard it. We
Yeah,
gotta
we're
have
not
a
gonna
marriage
record
conference.
This whole episode. We
So
don't do that.
be on the lookout. We ain't got no dates, but 24 Covenant Culture, the marriage conference is coming to a city near you.
Yay.
There it is.
Okay.
Hey, we
you
love
guys.
y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, share, post, repost, whatever it is, to help and love on people. We love y'all. Peace.
Don't forget me. Is that it?
Hey, you forgot the handshake. Peace out.